Hey, everybody. Can I play a Jason Isbell song? Sure. That's kind of one that I always go to, but I just freaking love it. Couldn't be happy in the city at night. Can't see the stars, the neon lights. Sidewalks dirty and the river's worse. Underground trains all run in reverse. Nobody here can dance like me. Everybody clapping on the 1 and 3 my last of my kind. And I the last of my kind. Mama said the river would always lead me home. The river can take me back in time. Daddy's dead and gone. Family farms, parking lots, Walton's 5 and dime. And I the last of my kind. Tried to go to college, but it didn't belong. Everything I said was either funny or wrong. And they laughed at my boots, laughed at my jeans, laughed when they gave me amphetamines. Left me alone in a bad part of town. 36 hours to come back down to my last of my kind. And I the last of my kind. That's it. Mama said God won't give you too much to bear. That might be true in Arkansas, but I'm a long, long way from there. Oh, look, I've a faded picture in my mind. Am I the last of my kind? Am I the last of my kind? Hey, everybody. All right. Well, welcome to Friday, December 18th, right? I just put a pickup in this and I can hear a wire rattling around in it. But let me hang this up and we'll get started. So there are a lot of moving pieces this week. I'm trying to make a couple things happen. So up front, we'll do a couple announcements and a couple exciting things, kind of an update on what's going on with me here. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this video, which is going to be me showing off some of my favorite pieces of gear that I got this year. And then as we do this, you can feel free to ask me questions about these guitars and just the pieces of gear as they come up. So let me grab a bag of coffee. I have a couple bags left. We'll talk about this here in a second. Also, is everything sounding good? I didn't have a bunch of weird technical difficulties. I'm trying to get a little fancier each week. So I just want to make sure that it sounds good. But anyway. So first and foremost, custom coffee roasted from Broad Porch Coffee. Badass coffee made by good friends in the Shenandoah Valley. This is on the website. So jeremytheguitarhunter.com/shop. You can find the coffee. This is Brazilian roastwood. This is delicious whole bean, incredibly thoughtfully roasted, and just everything about this is just badass. And it is the absolute best that we can do to make it. So anyway, yeah, $20 and there's some shipping on there. But great coffee. And if you can order it today, I think so I have a little box left. I think I've got like maybe 6 or 7 bags left. When they're gone until probably right after New Year's. And then we'll probably relaunch a couple different, maybe a roast or two. And then we'll just do it from there. Actually, who am I talking? We're going to stick with one roast for now. But delicious Brazilian roastwood. Go get that. Other things in the shop, I launched my ebook. So this is the Guitar Hunter's Buyer's Guide. So if you have questions about how to buy guitars, how to set up the deal, how to know what market values are, how to know for sure how to organize your, sorry. I'm like, anyway, let me take a deep breath and run back into that. This is what it's like to watch video like unedited. It's a lot of me like running out of steam and then having to come back. So the second thing is the buyer's guide. So if you have questions about how to buy guitars, how to set stuff up, how to buy guitars, how to know what they're worth, how to negotiate, this is the most helpful thing that I've created so far. That will teach you how to do all those things. So very cool. It's in the shop, jeremytheguitarhunter.com/shop. It's the buyer's guide. That's another helpful resource. So anyway, how do I actually, so the first question I see up here, yes. Okay. So let me jump in first. So that was my Husson Dalton TDM. That's 2009. I'll talk more about that guitar here in a minute. True story. One of the most embarrassing moments of my like elementary school. And one of the things I'm very still insecure about as a 33-year-old grown-ass man was that I took my sweatshirt off in front of a girl that I thought was really cool. And my shirt, like as I took my sweatshirt off, my shirt pulled up and it, my little doughy belly showed. And people laughed at me and it hurt my feelings. And I vowed to never be without clothes. No, that's not true. But anyway, so as I'm taking my sweatshirt off. So that was my Husson Dalton TDM. That's 2009, made in Stanton, Virginia. Amazing guitar. There is a good reason that one's going to stick with me. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. I'm going to run through a couple of these questions real quick. Any clue if the coffee ships to Mexico? Sure. Send me your address. If you buy it, pay the regular and I'll ship it to Mexico, even if I take a loss, because why not? So yeah, send me, Jeremy at jeremysheppard.com, or you can fill out a form on the website. Give me your info. Better yet, go ahead and buy the coffee and then just in a note or in a separate email, send me your address and I'll get it shipped to you. Okay. Let's see. Coffee does ship to, well, I'll ship one to you in Mexico. Do I actually make money doing this? What would you would say? Or is it worth the time? Okay, so the larger question is, how do you make money doing YouTube or like doing what I'm doing? So I'm now making enough that this is the majority of my time throughout the week. Now I have a wife and 3 kids and a mortgage. So, it has to make dollars in order for it to make sense for me to commit my time to it. Otherwise, I would just go back to it being a hobby. So generally, the way that YouTubers make money is kind of 5-fold, maybe more. But the way that I'm making money is through ad revenue, which is not much. Ad revenue is one avenue. And so those are the videos that play before and during and after the videos. And they're annoying. I try to really limit them. But I've heard people tell me, and I've seen in other channels that I like, that there are a lot of ads. And it's, I don't like non-skippable, like those 15-second ads. Anyway, so that's one. You make money through ad revenue. It's not a ton, $800 to $1,000 typically in the world that I'm in the level of channel I'm in now. Then behind that, I make money through selling guitars. So I've sold a bunch of guitars this week. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Then the third way that I make money is through selling merch and stuff on my website, which is why I talk about the coffee and the buyer's guide and merch and t-shirts and all that stuff. That's the other way that most YouTubers are going to make money, is by incorporating larger things into their brand that play into the lifestyle that they want to invite people into. And so for me, that's one. The other way is you would get paid content. And I talked about this some last week. So paid content is typically going to be, so a good example is Fender on this blue Strat. So Fender, they offered me, Fender offered to pay me $500 to make a video on that Strat. I don't know what they paid other people, but for me, that seems super fair. So I got paid a chunk of money to make the video on that Strat. I actually made 2 videos on that one right away. And they said that they were going to that I would ship the guitar back to them right afterwards. And after the video came out, they said, hey, just kidding, you get to keep the guitar, which was a super cool, super generous gift. So anyway, so that's the other one is people, they will pay you, say, hey, we'll give you X dollars. Can you make a video or 2 videos about that? And I do some of those videos and I try to be very forthcoming about them. Hey, and I'll say very clearly, this is a sponsored video. We want to thank our sponsor. They sent me this guitar. And so I try to disclose, you're supposed to disclose whether you get money or benefits, or like merch in exchange. So if I get a guitar for free, I'm still going to call it a sponsored video. I'll be overly cautious. Now with that, I'm always very clear that they don't own my opinions. They don't own my assessment of the product, and I get to say whatever I want. I'm fairly predictable. People know what I like and know what I don't like. So I don't, anyway, without getting too far into the weeds. So the last thing is if you're doing like affiliate links. That's probably the 5th way. So affiliate links, I use 2 different modes of affiliate links. I have Amazon affiliate, and then I'm also a Sweetwater affiliate, which Sweetwater has been, one of the best and most generous and like helpful ways that it seems like there's common ground for both you and I to benefit, because they're a really great company to do business with. And then also for me, so it, constitutes some money, per month that I get. And it incentivizes me to make videos that are a little outside of the box. Like that whole one about guitar picks was just an idea I spitballed with them. Like, hey, what if there's a ton of tone in your pick and people don't know it? And that video is still climbing all the time, is getting more views. So anyway, that is a very long answer to the question of how do you make money and is this worth my time? I think it is, but there's also, I view what I'm doing in this kind of altruistic light of, I wish that there were resources like what I'm making for me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was learning how to buy and sell guitars. And now on the other side of it, having bought and sold thousands of guitars over, I was doing the math, 20 years now, or like right at 20 years is how long I've been like buying and selling and wheeling and dealing guitars. So anyway, greetings from the UK. Hey, fellers. So we covered that. Hey, Pablo. Yeah, man. Okay. What bands are punk to me? So we listened through, I showed my kids the Bad Religion, the Punk Rock Christmas, or the Punk Christmas record, and it's so good. So when I think of like punk, I miss like the original like 70s and 80s punk. And I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, which is close enough to DC that there's a really healthy and kind of, well, there used to be a really healthy and strong like hardcore and punk scene. So that's the scene I came up in, was kind of the like DIY punk rock world. So I grew up, but I'm still like, I caught more into pop punk. That's still my favorite. And I love easycore. Like Finn McKenty's channel, the Punk Rock MBA, is one of my favorite YouTube channels. And I love, so for me, like, what are my favorite punk bands? Like, I still love AFI. I love AFI. I love Strike Anywhere. I love earlier Rise Against. Old Sum 41, the first record before In Too Deep, was really fun. Anyway, because they kind of pull some like Iron Maiden ridiculousness into it. And I dig that a lot. Hey, Michael, I see you. Yeah, Mike, Poker Pilot. Patreon. Okay, so there is like a 6th way that you'd raise money. I'll cover this really quickly. So I just reworked my Patreon because Patreon's never really taken off for me. For some creators, that is a really like helpful and like substantial way that they pay for what they're doing. I haven't had that. I really would like that. I just picked up my first $30 a month patron today. So what I really would like to do is kind of have this hot coal, like this bed of coals that is enough patrons that cover the basics for my life, so that not every video has to be directly tied to what can get the most views. I'd rather say, what is the best thing I can make? What's the most meaningful content, that will get less views? It'll get 8 or 10,000 views, but it's 8 or 10,000 sets of eyeballs that it will make their lives better and it'll make them a better guitar player. So anyway, Patreon. So it's patreon.com/guitarhunter. If you want to become a patron, that would be amazing. So $3 a month gets you early access to videos and then Q&As. And then there's like special interactions with me and I do stuff there. And then I think for $10 you get some merch, you get some other, there's all the benefits and perks. And then there's $30 is my ride or die, which is like, you will be my brain trust. You will, like, I'll pick your brain. We're going to have monthly phone calls, and I'm just going to, we're going to learn how to be guitar hunters together. And I'll, anyway, so that's a very helpful thing. The chat's going quickly. How's your mom and them? I love that phrase. So New Jersey. Hey, Monty. Who else? Merry Christmas. Guys, I'm like a child, and I like ate ramen noodles before this, and I am so thirsty now. I'm a child. Okay, so I'll take 2 more questions, and then we're going to get into, we'll jump into the guitars that I'm hanging on to this year, and I'll give kind of a summary of this year. So, Matt Hutchinson, record label. You sort of, a record or label that I identify with or really like the roster of. Oh man, I've fallen out of this. In the last like 7 or 8 years that we've been like having kids and moving all over, I've been less into this. Like, I used to follow zines, and I'd follow record labels, and so like my favorite stretch was like Metal Blade Records in the mid 2000s. If I had to say like what's my favorite, because that's when it was like Mastodon, Darkest Hour, Beloved, all of those like kind of thrashy, melodic, somewhat grindy bands. That's my like biggest stretch. But yeah, in the last 10 years I've been on this kind of like acoustic kick, and that's where I'm mostly into the acoustic world. Anyway, that's a really good question. I wish I had more time to kind of think through. Okay. If I could only have one electric guitar, what would it be? That's a really good question. If I could only have one electric guitar, I would have a Telecaster, because a Telecaster can do everything I want out of an electric guitar really well. It doesn't do like, there's one of the things. Let's see. Okay. So my Pink Paisley Tele is my favorite guitar. That's my ride or die. It's going to be with me forever. And I keep meaning to make a video about the story of how I got it, because it is a cool story and it's a really cool guitar. Let me grab it. I tucked my shirt in for my sweatshirt, and now it feels dorky. So if I could only have one electric guitar, I would have a Telecaster, because the bridge is just bitey and powerful, and it can cut through. The middle is amazing for droney, jangly stuff, or for droney, like ambient stuff. That's one of my favorite places. And then the neck pickup is just amazingly like fat and smushy and great. So for me, Telecasters are everything that I would want. Now, the only modification that I might do, I was dreaming of a Novo this week. And if I could get a Novo Ceres with a Tele bridge, and either a staple, some kind of either a P90 in the neck, or maybe a humbucker in the neck, or even a Firebird. I mean, I want the best of those 2 worlds. I want like a bitey Tele in the bridge that has just tons of grit. And then I also want a really fat, tight neck pickup. So anyway, that's yeah, I would think. I also really love my Rude. But it's not quite my like total ride or die. But it's a very cool guitar. So, okay, Telecasters, hell yeah. A Mustang with a P90 in the neck and an HB and a humbucker in the bridge, that'd be cool. Mustangs are such short scale lengths. And I do drop D so much, and I also do a lot of dad get on electric guitar, so they feel a little like floppy. Okay, so let me give you like what I'm doing today, what I want to talk about today. I've sold a lot of guitars this week, and some of you might be shocked, offended, hurt. No, that's not true. Surprised. Let's go with surprised. I think you'll be surprised at some of the ones I sold. Okay, so the Orangewood Oliver, that makes sense. So a follower in Germany, Dominic, what's up, buddy? So Dominic asked for that guitar, and we worked out a deal, and shipping wasn't crazy, and I was able to get it shipped. So I shipped. The Orangewood is going to Germany. The Guild M20 has been sold to, I forget where Reed is, but that was a guitar that is probably the most surprising that I sold. So I sold the Guild. Really cool guitar, but I kept finding myself, it sounds like a small guitar, and it just it's very cool, and not it not the right guitar for now. So I'm aiming for a dream guitar in the next year would be a new Guild D55, one of the big, just honking, ridiculous, cool block inlay. Yeah, D55. That's the goal for next year, or an F512. So I want to move from kind of the entry level in the Guild into the like full blown badass ones. So sorry, this is distracting. I'm not going to look at this for now. The other guitar I sold that Taylor 214. That one was not here for very long, and that one went to Louisiana. That one went to a place, to a town in Louisiana that I got probably the worst speeding ticket I've ever gotten. I think I got 84 and a 60 there when I was in a sales gig, and they wanted like $400. So I had to go back to whatever parish it is. It's up north between Jackson and Shreveport. Anyway, bunch of jerks. I got it worked down, but yeah, I got it down to like court costs, and it was a non-moving violation, so it, insurance didn't get involved. But anyway, what else did I sell? I sold a Mythos DOD 250 clone, one of the ones that Zach built. I sold a bunch of coffee, a bunch of t-shirts. So I've been I think I've been shipping stuff every day. So that's my update of what's going on this week. And it's left me to where I was looking today, like there are a bunch of empty hooks. So I now have 7 hooks here in the basement. There's 3 on this wall that you sometimes see, and then the 4 back behind me. Then I have 2 floor stands, and usually they're all full, which I guess they could be because there are a couple guitars that are still hanging out in the cases. Like the Razzmatazz is over there and a couple others. But overall, a bunch of guitars have gone. So there are questions here. I'll skip these. So my update, one of the questions I get asked all the time is how do you decide which guitars you get to keep and which ones you sell? I talked about this a little bit last week, but I think a better answer will just be showing you what guitars I'm actually keeping that came into my world this year. Let me think if I can do this chronologically. So in January, I was a corporate marketing director at a company here in town, and I really did not like that job. It was just not a good fit, and it was just very stifling to my creative side. And so I knew that it was time for me to start leaving and to figure something out. By February, it came to a head, and it ended up being time for me to leave that gig. We went to New Orleans for 2 weeks, basically, and just hung out, caught Mardi Gras. And we didn't know at the time that would be the last like big fun thing that we would do in 2020. I came back and I had a couple weeks off. And so my plan was like, well, I left that. I'll do some YouTube. I'll do some consulting. I'll just kind of piece together some income for a couple months. And then that's when I decided I was going to go to a guitar show. We're doing this. We're doing chronologically, and I can pull the gear out as I find it. So in March, I made a video that was all about like, will my Subaru, which that was the original challenge, was I was going to see if I can take my 240,000 mile Subaru, which never would have made it to Asheville, North Carolina and back. I ended up renting a car, but at that time I didn't have enough money to buy a bunch of stuff. So I just reached out to friends that I knew wanted to sell stuff, and I just worked out a deal on consignment. Or on commission, where it's, hey, I'll take this stuff, I'll sell it, I'll insure it, if anything happens, I'll cover it, but I'll take it, I'll sell it, and I'll get it back. There were a couple amps that hung around one in particular that I'm like, this is mine, sorry, you're not getting it back. One of them is here, let me grab it. Oh, it's plugged in, and it's behind my light. It's coming, though. Hold on. We can do it. Okay, this So this is a 1947 Valco. And so it's got these two giant Coke bottle KT88s, which I didn't actually know when I first got it. It had this cover, which is the super cool tweed. But so the cover was on it, and all you could see was just the knobs down here at the bottom. And so that's where I was like, well, this is a weird one. And I even filmed the video with this when I came back. So I went to the show. The show got canceled. That was like March, 16th, maybe 14th. Somehow it was in that, like, right at the beginning of lockdown. And so this one came back with me. I did a video, and I think the video is called "The Show Was Canceled, 5 Vintage Amps You Need to Hear, and a Couple Acoustics," or something. But I opened up this back speaker, and I was like, holy cow, because I played this amp, and it sounded so much better than I thought, because it doesn't look like much. Like, it looks like a weird old TV, and it's not actually that heavy. But I opened it up, and I saw these KT88s, and one of my favorite records from the early 2000s was very unfortunately named band now, which is ISIS, which they're named after the god of messaging. If you spell Siri backwards is ISIS. ISIS is the god of messaging. Bada bing, bada boom. So ISIS, that guy played a dual showman that had been modded to use KT88s. And it's just this like giant guitar tone that has so much headroom and just this like really pleasing overdrive to it. And so this amp has that same kind of vibe. And so I called my friend Mike. I was like, I have to buy this. So it's a 47. I think it's a WP 47 Junior. I forget the name of it, but it's like pretty rare. This might be the original box. Probably not. It probably was in a different box at some point, or a different cabinet. But anyway, so I love this. That's gear number one. Everything else pretty much from there. There are a couple things that are still hanging around. So down here on the floor, there's a 53 Gibsonette, a GTA 20, I think it is. That's actually staying. My friend Mike is going to keep that one, but it's still here. It looks cool. It's a sociopath to play. I think something is weird with it, because it's like, sounds like a dual rec, and it's a 50s, like, should be a tweed-ish amp. Anyway, so during that time is when Fender reached out to me for the first time, and they asked if I wanted a couple things. They sent me some pedals, and then they sent me the Tone Master Deluxe, which is down here, which that's another piece of gear that I'm going to hang on to, because the Tone Master is so incredibly helpful for so many of the things that I'm trying to do, especially for demonstrating. I think most musicians that are doing any level of like mixed multimedia, if you are filming any kind of video with yourself, or if you're recording your amp at your house, or if you live in an apartment or a place that you can't be loud and you don't want to, the Tone Master just fixes so many problems that I really, it's just a total winner. I've had that one probably 8 months now. I think I got that in like April. So there are two amps right away that I got. I also got the PV Classic 20, which that one I really like. It's very similar, super gainy. And I need to use that more. But that with a Classic 30, 112 cab, very cool over here. And sorry, these things are too big for me to pick up. I also got this 5E3, which I'm going to play, and we're going to see how it goes, because I didn't get to do a sound check before I jumped in here. But I'm going to turn this mic down, and then I'll turn the 5E3 on, because this thing sounds so good. Also, I'm going to play this Strat. So this is, you've seen this. This is my 2000, whatever year it is, 2020 American Pro 2 Strat. And so here we go. Tell me if that's too loud. Is this going to blow your mind? Okay, so I'm assuming that worked well because I don't have a monitor here. But that's the 5E3. So this thing is, you can't really see it, but it's this amazingly cool Tweed Gibson. It's a Guild amp on the outside. So you've seen the video on this one. If not, you should go check it out. It's a very cool. This is one I bought in like the heat of the summer in July. But on the outside, it's a Guild 66J, J66, something. On the inside, it's been totally rebuilt to be a hand-wired 5E3 with an optical tremolo added. And there's a mid-push, or there's like a headroom. There's one, I need to go back and watch the video and hear him explain it again. But if you click it one way down, there's not as much headroom, and a little more bite. If you push it the other way, you have a little more headroom. Anyway, it's a badass, amazing amp. So it's the reason I'm keeping this one. So I would keep the Tone Master because of utility. I'm keeping this 5E3 because it is so incredibly unique. If there's anything that will make me want to keep a thing forever, it is the fact that it is badass and I will never find another one like it. So with this, it's like, when will I've never seen another one of these amps, and I've never seen another one with a 5E3 clone. I've never heard one that sounds this good, and I've never found one for $700. I think I paid $725. So to me, I'm like, this thing is just badass and super cool. Okay, so it was clipping. Sorry. Okay. It didn't look like it was clipping here. Anyway, we won't try that again. I did it last week with the Tone Master, which again, Tone Master was super easy because I could see everything and I knew that it worked. But I didn't get a chance to run that. I didn't get to run a sound check before this. Okay, so moving through the year, I took a job for a couple months, and y'all may or may not know this just because it didn't really affect my YouTube side. But for a couple months, I took a job as a director of development. So I was working for a nonprofit for downtown Harrisonburg, Virginia. And this is an organization that they live and they exist to make downtown a good and helpful place for families and people that live in the city and people that work in the city. So it was a really fun job. And I came in, I produced a concert series with them. I did some live streaming video with them, but that was in the heat of lockdown. During that time, I was able to help the city raise a bunch of money to do grants to businesses and restaurants and music venues that were shut down, that weren't able to take care of it, that weren't able to meet the bills month to month. So that was a really good 6-month stretch, and it was a good kind of stepping stone to cover some of the expenses for my family, but also really good and meaningful work downtown. So during that time, that's when I saw the Husson Dalton show up. So I had been looking for a Husson Dalton. I've been looking for a Husson Dalton. I've been looking for a mahogany dreadnought because I love D18s, but overall I find them D18s, like, to me, again, comes back to the unique factor. That's why I would keep stuff. So I'm particularly nostalgic and I like unique things. So the idea of finding like a really well-built mahogany back and sides dreadnought from a company that's 30 minutes from my hometown that has really cool playware, and I can get a good deal. I can get for the same. I can get it for cheaper than a Martin. So I got this for $2,000. Everything about this just lined up. So this is a really great guitar, and it is so. Oh, sorry. It is so perfectly bassy and clear and punchy, but it's not overly loud. I can sing with it. This was a guitar that I had been looking for a long time. Since I had a 55 Martin D18 a couple years ago. That's like one of my first YouTube videos that really took off. And, we had 2 little babies at that time. And so there was just no way that I would get to keep $3,500 in a guitar. So with this one coming in, that meant my J45 had to go out. And so the plan is that I'm going to be buying a custom Husson Dalton DS custom with torrefied red spruce top, and then also torrefied mahogany back and sides. to play something that's not. So this is my Hudson Dalton TDM, badass guitar made in Stanton, Virginia. This is another one that I'm going to keep. So like I said before, it's whether it's really functional, whether it's really unique, or whether it's some nostalgic connection. That's where for this, that's why I'm going to hang on to this one. So let me get the next one. So over the summer, I had a lot more time to play. And I had been really hunting for certain tones in certain records that I'd loved and not ever been able to really, that I'd ever really been able to lock down. Like, where does that come from? Why does it sound that way? How did they get that sound? One of them was the Crane Wife, number 3, the Crane Wife 3 by the Decemberists. It has evaded me for 10 years. Like, what is that sound? And I finally figured out, I think it's a bouzouki or an octave mandolin. Oh, let me tune this. But so what I found was it was an octave mandolin. So the last couple years, I have wanted, battery's dead. The last couple years, I have wanted to find a way to have an octave mandolin that didn't cost me, an arm and a leg, because most octave mandolins are really incredibly well built. But that means like the most affordable ones, like Weber is probably the biggest builder of them. And even then their bitter roots are like $3,500, $2,500 maybe. And then you get into Northfields that are like $3,500 to $5,000. And then you just get higher and higher and higher and more expensive. You get to where they're just so freaking expensive. I can't. So this is an octave mandolin. So a friend here in town who plays Seth, who plays in the Walking Roots band. He's a good friend, and he sent me the listing on the Mandolin Cafe and said, "Hey, this is a good deal on this. It's from Carter Vintage." And so I called my friend Bo, who works at Carter, and Bo gave me a good deal. And we got it shipped. So I think I paid like $700 for this. I think with shipping it was like $730, $740. It's funny. I tuned every other one so I wouldn't have to do this. But here we go. Not super in tune. So this is my Pono octave mandolin. This is the M20. This is all solid. So Sitka spruce, mahogany back and sides, mahogany neck. It is made in Indonesia. So it's made by Pono mandolins. And so, I mean, it's an import instrument, but it sounds great. And the reason I'm keeping this, so if you're keeping track, function, uniqueness, or, oh boy, it's like, anyway. So if you're keeping track, it's, some are really functional, some are really unique, some are irreplaceable, some are nostalgic. This like keeps pushing me to be a better musician. Like something about playing mandolin, like flips my brain. I mean, literally, because it's, EADG kind of a guitar upside down. but it's also just like deeply inspiring. And if I get bored or tired on a guitar, I pick up a mandolin and it's just really cool. It also fits my voice really well for singing and playing out. So I'm excited to put a pickup in this. That's the next thing I really want to do. Now on this, I wanted to put an LR Baggs in it, and I still can. I just can't put the one that I have. So I have an LR Baggs Anthem, like a real deal one. And it was a sponsorship from LR Baggs. They sent it to me to make a video on it, and I just haven't had a chance because it doesn't fit. This space right here is too small for the preamp because it's made for a guitar. So it's the Anthem. So it'd be an under saddle transducer and a mic on the inside of the bridge plate. So I think I might just do a K and not just. I think I'm going to do a K and K on this because I just don't want to ever have to deal with putting batteries and stuff. And I really like the way mandolin pickup sounding from K and K. So anyway, Pono Octave Mandolin, very cool guitar. Oh boy, so much stuff going on in there. Can't look at it. It's distracting. And you've seen the Strat. So I'll put the Strat back up here so that it looks good. Now keep in mind, I didn't pay for the Strat. Well, I guess I did. I made a video and I thought about it and I talked about it and I tried to wax philosophical about how it's a really important guitar. But that brings us through July. And then the rest of the summer, I was just kind of hanging out with my family, loving. Yeah, over the summer, I said goodbye to the Gibson J45. I was just falling more in love with the Husson Dalton TDM. And then I also had the Guild, but I was looking for another. Actually, I wasn't even looking for another guitar. I was just looking for ones that would be fun to make videos on and then fun to flip and make some money. So that's when the last one here came in, and it has like, this is the one that I never, ever, ever saw coming. I just didn't ever expect to love a guitar as much as I love this. So this is a Waterloo WLS, and so the WLS normally doesn't have a pick guard. The original owner who bought it asked Collings if they would put one on. So I think this is actually from he said it was from the Deluxe model, but I think it's from the WL15. No, sorry, the WL14. And he said something about it doesn't meet the same radius. So they've like spaced it out there. I don't even know if you can tell, but it is incredibly it sounds like no other guitar I've ever played. It is feather light. It is insane how light this is. So spruce top, and this is really wide grain if it's Sitka. I think this is a red spruce top. I've talked to the guys at Collings, and they said that they don't really keep records, but some of them get red spruce if they have a small enough top. So some get red spruce, most get Sitka spruce. Either way, it's great. This is cherry back and sides, and then a big mahogany neck. Everything about this guitar just pulls tons of really cool styling from. If I close that, the live stream will end. But anyway, this is an amazing guitar. Let me lower the mic a little bit so you can hear this. I am not kidding. I have, let me pull this back up. I am not exaggerating, not even a little bit. I have played this guitar every possible second that I can. I think I've played this guitar more than I've played any other guitar this year, and I did not see this one coming. I thought I would sell it because it has so many features that are just not my thing. Well, it has. Let me take that again. It has one feature that I have never ever liked ever, which is ladder bracing. I've never liked guitars that are ladder braced. I've never gotten it. It's never sounded right to me. I had a 53 Gibson LG1 that looked like the most badass, ridiculously cool, just vibey, amazing old vintage Gibson. And it sounded like a turd. Like it sounded like a shoebox with shoelaces like over it. It just was so thumpy and so uninspired. And I eventually sold it. I bought it for $750. This is in 2006, maybe. I bought it and I sold it 2 years later for $800. So I still made money, but it was, like, anyway. So that's where I'd hung on to for years about, well, that must be how ladder brace guitars sound. And so when this came up, I was like, oh, it's this kind of bluesy thing. I'm not a blues player. I'm not a soul player. That's not my sound. I'll just get this, for $1,500. I'll flip it for $1,800 or $2,000. I'll make some money on it. And that'll be fun. It'll be a fun video to make. And then I got it and I played it in a parking lot. So my wife was out of town. I had 2 of my kids. We rode over the mountains. We met at a Home Depot parking lot with masks on. And I played this guitar on the back of a pickup truck. And I knew that I was in trouble. Because it just, I don't know, man. Everything about this guitar is just freaking cool and vibey. So my next thing in this is that I need to put a pickup in it. So I might put the Anthem in this guitar. But I'm a little psyched out because this guitar is so light. And that's a pretty extensive, it's a mic on the inside of the bridge plate, and it's a preamp up here, and it's a battery on the side. I don't want to add too much mass and change the tone of the guitar. So I'm torn. What do you think? Should I do an Anthem in this, or I could do another LR Bags, or I could do a K&K. If I'm really conscious about the weight, I might just stick with a water, or with a K&K. All right, let me put this back and we'll get back to a couple more questions. We have 8 minutes before I'm going to wrap it. I'll call it at an hour. Okay, what else do we have? Fellas, so many questions. Someone asked about Boucher Guitars. I've been talking to Boucher. Sounds like they're going to possibly send me a guitar to review, and I'll send it back more than likely. They might sponsor a couple videos. One of the things that's really cool is that they are the first company that ever supplied torrefied Adirondack spruce. So we're talking of the premium guitars, this is, torrefied, great, high grade. So my understanding is to larger builders, Santa Cruz, Bourgeois, those kinds of guitars. So I'm very excited. I've played a handful of Bouchers, but I'd really like to know more about them. So we've been emailing since last week because I sent them an email that's very honest. 1,000 people have asked me what my take is, and I've played a couple OMs, and I really like them. Yes. JP Cormier's. Is that how you pronounce that? Made in Canada. Yeah, so I've skimmed through their website. I would love to have a Santa Cruz. One of the Santa Cruz, the OMPW, the OM pre-war. A friend of mine in college had one of those, and it's hung around with me for 15 years as just one of the absolute best sounding and best playing OM, Rosewood OMs. And they just nail the tiny little beautiful details of that kind of guitar. Jazzmaster, that's a big boy. 8.5 pounds. Trying to make it weigh more. Oh, what's a reasonable weight for a Jazzmaster? 8.5 seems okay. I mean, you're it's a big body. The Razzmatazz is a Jazzmaster size, and it's a big, heavy guitar. Yes, Chris, I agree. That Hudson Dalton is very cool. Matt, your brother has a Collings OM. That's awesome. Those are great guitars. I wish I had one. Those ramen noodles. Still so thirsty. What other Blue Ridges do I like? I like. So when I sold Blue Ridge, I sold Blue Ridge for 8 years. My favorite models that they had are the BR40, the BR60, and the BR70. Those were the three, and then the 43, the 63, and the 70. I don't know if we ever sold a 73, like an OM. Or it's like a triple. I guess that's what that 3 means. Oh my gosh, I'm figuring their model numbers out as we're talking. So I really like, for most guitar players, the BR40 or the BR60. If you like the look of an 18 or if you like the look of a 28, both of those are really good. The BR70s, I always thought they're really cool because they look kind of like, it's kind of a mix of a D41 and maybe the DC Aura that Martin did, where it has the hollow abalone hexagons. Those are super cool looking. The thing with Blue Ridge that I can't really get into is just how busy their headstock is. That's just one of my things I just can't get into. I have not. Okay, so have I tried the Santa Cruz strings? I have not. Maybe I'll just go ahead and order some today. That's another, like, everyone's told me that they're great. Even Tony Policastro, who's become a good friend, Tony has said that he swears by them on certain guitars. So, all right, I'm in. I'll try them. I've thought about making a video about, there are certain guitar strings. There are certain guitar opinions I inherited from the people that I trust, and I have never, like, wavered from those. So I have never in my life played a set of DR strings because I was told that they're bad. So I've never played them. I've never tried them. What other strings have I never tried? Yeah, the boomers and DR. I've never tried any of them. I'm sure they're fine. But anyway. Okay, there are a couple questions that came in through Instagram. I want to follow up on these. So the question was, what topics or opinions do you want me to, what topics or questions do you have for me? One of them is, have I tried PRS acoustic guitars? Bonus question, what are my thoughts on the Silver Sky? PRS acoustics, I've played a couple of with the Angelus. I don't know how you pronounce it. Angelus? They're like primo expensive ones. I played those. I was in Dallas at some guitar shop, and then I was in Seattle. There were 2 different shops that I tried them, one in Dallas, one in Seattle. They're really impressive. I don't think they're making the American-made acoustic guitars anymore. I could be wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. So the American ones are great, and the import ones are okay. Yeah, to me, like, they're the import, the SE acoustics, they're okay. They're on par, with the import Breedloves, on par with Yamahas. Like, they're all okay. So the biggest thing, I think, the single biggest thing that is just lacking when you get import guitars, and this is like, there was a new video on Andertons this week, or maybe I just saw it this week, but it was the Epiphone inspired by Gibson series acoustic guitars, and they did a blind shootout between like a Hummingbird, a J45, and a J200 Gibson versus the Epiphone inspired by Gibson ones. And it's interesting, and they're in a tricky spot because they're guitar retailers, and they can't really publicly say, like, I don't like this, I do like this, if they're under contract to sell those. So to me, as a guitar player, someone, particularly an acoustic guitar player who's played a lot of really great acoustic guitars, I could hear, like, it was this weird visceral thing. Like, I knew which ones were which because I was playing along. Like, I was just listening with Bluetooth headphones while I'm taking pictures, wandering around outside. I was doing downtown pictures late at night of Christmas lights, and I had it playing and Bluetooth headphones on, and I could hear immediately which guitars are which. So the biggest thing is, there's this thing that happens in like the low end, like the bass and the low mids with an all solid wood guitar. Now, it may be all solid, but it may also be a lacquer finish, like rather than a polyurethane finish, because I think polyurethane is just such an what would you call it? It just absorbs so much of the bass and the noise. Anyway, one of the questions was, have I ever thought about doing a podcast? Yes, I want to do a podcast. That is one of the goals for next year. I want to work out a good format. I also would like to find someone to do these videos. So eventually I would like the live videos to turn into a podcast, similar to the Dipped in Tone podcast. I'm friends with both Rhett and Zach, and I love the Dipped in Tone podcast. So, you know, ideally, I want to make a podcast. I would also like to have someone to bounce ideas off. I love Mike Adams, his Pusheen. Mike Adams he's like an animate teddy bear. He's just an amazing, sweet, funny, cool dude. So, yeah, I'll pick his brain. So, yeah, I do want to start a podcast, and I would like to have a podcast that just deals with like funny and ridiculous stories that have happened with me buying and selling guitars, hearing from people, answering questions about how to buy guitars, those kind of things. So anyway, if you're into that, let me know. Hey, Scar my guitar. Yes. Hey, so he says, hey, Jeremy, want to check out one of my new acoustics I designed? Absolutely. I would love to. I love acoustic guitars. I love product development. So let me know. You guys have my info. And yeah, I'd love to check that out. So there are a handful of guitar brands. Whenever I talk about, I get people pissed. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there are a couple brands that when I make fun of or just state my opinion, when I just say, hey, that guitar, not for me, I will get so many comments, so many messages, so many emails telling me, well, you've never played this one. So I think I'm going to offend, trigger a bunch of them. So the two that I tend to pick on, the two companies that I just don't get are Takamine and Ovation. So I have a video coming out on Monday or Tuesday. When do you want it? Monday or Tuesday? It's already done. I have a great thumbnail for it. I'm really excited about this video. It's a shootout between three kinds of bracing patterns. So it's an X brace top versus a fan brace top versus a X brace top versus fan brace top versus ladder brace top. So it's the Guild M20 versus the Favilla F6, which also sold this week, versus the Waterloo WLS. And so in it, I talk about fan bracing and I talk about ovations and how they just don't age gracefully. That's a bad design. It's a bad design they knew in the 70s and they've stuck with it. And every guitar they've ever made is going to crack up eventually. So anyway, so yeah, so let me clarify. So my issue with Takaminis is just I feel like there are the ones that you see celebrities play that you will never, like, they're so hard to ever find in real life. And then there's like the cheap versions where it's a $300 guitar. Like they play and sound like a $300 guitar. But I see like Bruce Springsteen play one. I see Garth Brooks play one. The only ones that I really love and I think are totally worth the money are the Garth Brooks version, which it took me forever to even notice that, like, I knew it had a weird shaped sound hole, but to realize that the shape of the sound hole is the shape of the guitar is very cool and super Garth Brooks. But yeah, so if I ever talk bad about Takaminis, I will always get people saying that I need to try more. I need to get my head out of the sand and play more guitars, which I don't know how I could play more guitars. I'm playing guitars all the time. All the time I'm playing, reading about, listening to, talking to people about guitars. There's a really good question I do not have time to answer, but I will commit a video to this. But most of it is covered in my buyer's guide. So the question is, hey, Jeremy, love your videos. This is also Great Value Memes, which I think it's like a meme account for Walmart stuff. But it says, I do have a quick question. Do you think you could walk us through how to buy used guitars? Maybe go over some tips or tricks on the best deal on a used guitar. This is like right down the middle. This is pretty much what my whole channel is about. So I'll answer it very quickly. how do I set up a guitar? So one, I know what I'm looking for and I know what it's worth. If you don't know what you're looking for, you just have to pay attention to artists you like and musicians and listen to records and hang out with other musicians. You know, you need to know what you like and what you know about, because you can't know about everything. Like, I will pass on most Rickenbackers because I just don't know enough about them. They're not my thing. But so you know what you're looking for, and then you come into it, you see it listed. Usually it has to be like something you know about and it's available for sale around you locally. And the main pieces you have to have are, I usually kind of lock in a price, barring conditions, before I make the deal. So I'll see an Epiphone, like a master built Epiphone. I know that guitar is like a $450, $500 guitar. I see it for $400. I'll come in. The best trick I know to get a little bit of a discount is to offer cash and to get there as quickly as you can. So that's where I'm like, hey, this is a killer guitar. I'd love to own it. Would you take $350? I can be there in 45 minutes. And then you run to the bank as fast as you can. You get cash out. You go and you pay in cash. And you will get a discount just by showing cash and being there quicker. Yeah, other tips. If you're really a shrewd negotiator, you can put, 80% you want to spend in one pocket and 20% in the other. And because nothing kills the deal more than people saying, like, when you chop someone down on the price and then all of a sudden you have to like pull money out of the stack of cash and then you give them the cash, because they just feel like, oh, it was just about getting a deal off of me. It was just about me losing and not you getting the best deal. So if you can come to a place where you're like, well, I have $350 in this pocket, you offer them $350, and they're like, well, I can't quite do that. And you're like, well, how about $400? And you have the other $50 in your other pocket. I've talked about those tricks a lot. Those tricks seem to work for me. Yeah, usually it's, anyway, the buyer's guide covers this in much more detail. So check it out. It's on the website, JeremyTheGuitarHunter.com/shop. Okay. Let me skim through here real quick for any last questions. Alden. Yeah. Dude, go buy shirts. Oh, I totally forgot. There is a coupon code. I think only one person of all the t-shirts I've sold this week, only one person's actually used the coupon code. Deck the Halls, all one word, DECKTHEHALLS. Deck the Halls on t-shirts. It will get you 20% off. So it's a substantial, 20% off. So go do that. Go buy a t-shirt today. I will ship them. They will get to you as soon as possible. They are so comfy. I don't just wear this shirt because it has my logo and my brand on it. I wear it because it really is, like, I'm very picky on t-shirts. And so when I ordered these, I just got like the most freaking comfortable t-shirts that I can get. So I'm 2'10", 5'9". And so an XL fits me really well. When I was like 20 pounds lighter, a large fit well. But anyway, and this last one is for Patrick Bain. Am I saying shirts or am I saying shorts? Schwatz. He'll know what that means. You don't know what that means. But anyway, all right, guys. So good. Hey, have a great Christmas. Have a great week next week. Have a good New Year's. So I probably won't do a live show on Fridays because next Friday is Christmas and then the next Friday is New Year's Day. So I probably won't do a live show, but I have 2 videos coming up, probably 3 videos actually coming out next week. Just because you earned it, you've been good. You made it onto the good list. One of my kids asked me the other day if I had ever been on the naughty list, and I had to wonder why she even asked. But anyway, have a Merry Christmas. Good New Year's. Be safe if you're around your family, which I hope you get to be around your family in smart and wise ways. And I hope that loneliness is not the prominent memory that you come out of this, that you know that you're not alone, that you're loved, and that there are people that really care about you. So have a great week and be good. All right. See you, everybody.